Cool. Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Pang. My section of the talk will focus on introducing the concepts of RPA, its associated benefits, and BHR's journey so far. Our talk will conclude with Claire, who will provide an insight into the Outpatients team and the changes they've seen because of RPA. So, to kick off, I thought I'd start with a slide that would. I'll start off with a slide that was shown to me when I was first introduced to robotics. It kind of highlights some of the potential misconceptions when you hear robotics. So often what people might think of is that it's humanoid robots taking over the world and taking over our jobs. I think RPA is far less dramatic than that and far more helpful. So what is RPA? So Robotics Process Automation, or RPA, refers to software that can easily be programmed to do basic tasks that emulate the actions of humans carrying out office-based work. It frees up the workforce from repetitive and time-intensive tasks that can slow them down and allows them to focus on value-added tasks to improve patient care and support our happy hospital vision. So effectively, what RPA does is a software that works at the front end of our systems. So it doesn't require any additional configs from our existing systems. The robots or digital workers interact with systems as if it was a human. So on the right-hand side, kind of highlight some of the key benefits of using robotics. So they operate flawlessly at machine speed. So they operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. They can operate across multiple business functions. So it's not just corporate functions that you can benefit from. So we'll touch on outpatients later, but it can, if it's a manual process done by a human that is repetitive and easily done, the robots can replicate it. They don't make errors, they don't take holidays, they're never off sick. So they can be extremely reliable and very useful with helping with our workload. This comic here, I think, just kind of highlights the concepts of what we're trying to achieve. So here we've got an individual doing a routine and task day after day, often questioning, what am I just a robot? Why do I keep doing this every single day? And then obviously the illustration is having a robot coming in and then doing that work and allowing the worker to do more meaningful work. So where does robotics sit in the workplace? I think this slide helps to show how we envisage digital workers to interact with the working environment. The aim here is to allow people to drive creativity, innovation, use subjective thought and compassion, and deal with unstructured information, whilst a robot deals with the logical processing, structured work, and repetitive tasks. So robots or digital workers aren't the solution to everything. They have their place in the work environment. We want to let people be brilliant and foster happier staff, improve morale, and better performance. This slide here is a screenshot from the digital platform. It shows that there is much collaboration with this technology already. There's 30 trusts across the country who already use this platform. The likes of Leeds Teaching Hospital, King's College, Royal Free are all using this. So there's great collaboration that can be had across with our partners in other organisations. The benefits of collaboration is that trusts are already along their journey and they can share pre-made processes with us and we can share with them. So it speeds up the development and the deployment of automation. So quickly, I'll quickly run through the story so far. So we signed the contract with Blue Prism back in November 2020. We have a very small in-house team at BHR, so it's myself and 2 other colleagues who lead on the robotics. In collaboration with Blue Prism, we've developed our first process, which relates to the GP referrals, and Claire will touch on this later and go into a bit more detail. Our second process, we are finalising the live finance and workforce reporting. So this will allow us to have as live of information as possible. So we'll get the robots to run the reports every day before we come into work. So when people log onto their computers, they have the latest information available to make decisions and formulate plans. Just some of the key stats around the GP referrals. So we started on the 28th of May of this year. So far, we've processed over 10,000 referrals, with the referrals taking about 6.4 minutes for the robots to complete. In total, that saved us around 150 working hours so far. And obviously, this is a continual process, so it's continually saving us as time and money. I guess one of the insights of the rollout of the GP referrals was that within 7 days, we'd cleared the backlog using the robots. We then looked to reduce the threshold of clearing the GP referrals. So yeah, very positive, and I'm sure Claire will go into a bit more detail about that. Here are some of the pre-developed or already made processes that Blue Prism have done with other trusts. So like I've said earlier, with collaboration, we're not reinventing the wheel with some of the stuff. It's already there, it's ready made. Often trusts and other organizations use similar systems to us. So it makes it a lot easier then to deploy new automation. So this list, I know, is quite extensive, and I don't expect you to read all of it, but it kind of gives you a flavour of some of the areas of focus. So just to finish off my part before I hand over to Claire, this is the link to the robotics on the intranet. And so this allows you to submit ideas that you think would benefit from robotics. So if you have a process in your department that you think, oh, you know what, I'd love a robot to do this. It's a simple, easy, repetitive task to automate. There's a form online, submit the form, and it'll be picked up as part of a review process. And yeah, we may look to develop that going forward. So going forward, I'll move on. I'll pass you over to Claire, who will talk about the outpatients experience.
Thank you, Anthony. So my name's Claire. I'm going to take you through the outpatient experience with robotics, starting with why we needed the robotics, the process pre-robotics, and then afterwards, so what we've experienced. So I'll start with the ERS system. So it's a national system that allows GPs to refer into an outpatient service directly. When referred into us, the patients then go into an electronic waiting list, and they sit there for us to book accordingly in chronological order. As many of you know, the ERS system is designed in a way to only hold patients for a maximum of 180 days on a work list, which is of course a huge risk, after which they fall off of the system and can be lost. The risk was, of course, too high for this, and the outpatients department had created a local workaround which allowed us to pick up the patients that were due to fall off of the electronic referral system prior to doing so, to eliminate that risk. At the moment, the robots, as Anthony has just suggested, has now taken over the whole process for us. So pre-robotics, if you could do the next slide, please, Anthony. So as I said, we had a local report created every evening by the informatics team, which would allow us to identify those patients that were due to fall off the system. This then meant that our staff in the appointment centre had a manual process of adding the referrals to CareFlow. That was a very time-consuming piece of work, and one patient could potentially take us up to 20 minutes. I've just got some stats here around what volumes we were working with. So in the peak of COVID, we were averaging around 100 patients to process every day. And in the peak of it, we were totaling around 444 hours used a month in additional resources to process this volume of work. Next slide, please, Anthony. So
Claire,
yes.
We're just at 10 minutes, if you wouldn't mind just wrapping up if you can.
Yeah, of course, this is the last part. So post-robotics, the manual process is now processed completely by the robots. We have no involvement except for the exception emails, which average around 18 a day. So it's more than manageable to cope with. So as you can see at the bottom of the page, we've now reduced our resources to process this volume. So you can see during the robotic process, February, we reduced down, and then further again to July, where the robots completely took over. We have now been able to absorb completely in our daily workload, meaning no more overspend, and staff can focus on the important tasks that are needed in hand, such as booking patients' first appointments and dealing with the patient calls. So that's it in a nutshell, really, for outpatients.